Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and the president's son, Eric Trump. He joins me now by phone. Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, Judge. How are you?
Your reaction, Eric, to the horror that happened today in a place of worship in Pittsburgh.
Listen, America mourns, right? I mean, this whack job destroyed lives. He upended a community. He should get the death penalty. I mean, there's no question about it. He should absolutely get the death penalty. There's 11 people who are no longer on this earth because of his actions, and it's horrible. And you know what we do in time like this also need to give a major shout-out to law enforcement because the job they did today was incredible. I mean, just absolutely incredible.
Right, and I'm going to talk about that more with some of my law enforcement guests. But, you know, Eric, as we look at the news of the past week, is it a sign of the times? Yesterday, someone arrested for sending pipe bombs to several people, and then today, this individual shooting up in a place of worship and killing 11 people, 6 more injured. Is this a sign of the rhetoric and the outrage that people are hearing? Is there any correlation between the two?
I don't know. Listen, there might be and there might not be. I mean, at the end of the day, this is obviously a very sick deranged human, subhuman. He shouldn't even be called a human, but, you know, I mean, it's a very, very sick, deranged person. They did this. And, you know, it seems like we've gotten to a point in life and society where everything has to be kind of politicized. Everything has to be, you know, somebody has to point the political finger to absolutely everything. I mean, at the end of this day, this guy is a sick person. He did the most unthinkable thing imaginable. He went to a place of worship, shot it up. Again, there are 11 people who are dead now because of it. And, I think we should actually try and pull politics out of some of these things. I mean, this person doesn't represent the left. He doesn't represent the right. The person was sick, deranged. And again, I truly, truly hope, if found guilty, which he will be, that he gets the death penalty.
All right, and certainly a good point in not viewing everything through the political lenses that people seem to be looking through these days. But let me ask you about your dad. Your dad indicated today that he thought about actually canceling the rally. But he said something interesting. He said, we don't want to let those crazies control, you know, what we do. And it kind of reminds me, Eric, I mean, you were in New York, in New York City on 2001, 9/11, as was I, where we all said, we're not going to let these crazy people stop us from conducting our ordinary everyday affairs. Do you think your dad should have gone through with that rally?
I do, and I thought he said it beautifully. I mean, he said you can't let evil change your life, and I think that's 100% right. I mean, if every single time evil lashed out, it changed everybody's pattern, it changed their lives, it changed society stopped, you'd live in a much different world. And, you know, it's always incidents like this, whether it be the 9/11s or, you know, tragic shootings like the one we had today that actually brings America together. And, you know, clearly the person is trying to tear apart, you know, our country apart, a community apart. They're trying to do massive evil. And it's amazing how the world works that, you know, sometimes it actually does the exact opposite. Once you get past the horrible act, it actually brings society together. And, you know, you have an entire country that's mourning for, you know, a small town in Pennsylvania and for a specific synagogue and for a group of people, again, whose lives were upended. And so, you know, this does bring America together in a time where, you know, you can say that, you know, America can often be fractured because of, you know, so many different, you know, variables.
You know, and I think the sad part, it's always sad, but, you know, but the selection of a particular group based upon their religion in a place of worship on Shabbat, I mean, it is a particularly heinous act. But let's talk about what's going to happen in the next 8 or 9 days, the midterms. How does America turn from its focus on some of these horrific things that we're seeing daily in the news to focusing on what's important in terms of the country continuing on the course that it's on, and getting people to focus on real politics as opposed to the rhetoric that is making up politics?
Well, you know, and you do hope they focus on the real issues as opposed to rhetoric. You know, this obviously aside, because this is absolutely horrible what happened, and you have other tragedies. I mean, obviously look at the hurricane that hit North Florida, the Panhandle, Florida, so hard. But obviously, those are unthinkable things. But you do think that people can get past some of the other rhetoric that they see in the media every single day because, Judge, America's winning right now. I mean, we're winning. Our economy's winning. Our military's winning. Our veterans are winning. I mean, just about everything's winning. I mean, we've got the fastest-growing GDP and, one of the fastest-growing GDPs in the history of the country. We have the lowest unemployment. Manufacturing's coming back to this country. The stock markets are at record highs. 401ks have done tremendously well, and I can go on and on and on. The price for prescription drugs is coming down, something that my father made a big focus on last week. I mean, I could talk about it for hours, but, I mean, our country is thriving. We're no longer getting ripped off by China. We're no longer getting ripped off by Mexico. We're the envy of the world right now. I mean, America is the envy of the world, and it's hard to say in a day like today when something so tragic happened. But our economy is doing great. Our country is doing great. We're just rated the #1 economy on Earth, and so you hope a lot of the rhetoric gets put aside, and you hope people focus on all the positive attributes and, the many great things that's happening in our country right now.
But, when you talk about it, Eric, it's almost as though there isn't one metric that hasn't improved under your father, and yet the left is so dug in, so angry. And when you see, the rhetoric of people who are congresswomen, congressmen, you wonder how you can get people to take their sights off of that anger and turn it towards something positive.
Yeah, it's almost amazing. When you're doing the best, it's almost people are the most angry, and it's kind of interesting. And I've seen it personally, where you see a lot of the left lashing out, and they don't have a great message right now. They want to double people's taxes. They want to constantly attack law enforcement. Again, days like today make that just unthinkable. I mean, they're the bravest men and women that we have in the country, but
without a doubt,
the country is doing amazingly well. We're winning. We're winning on every metric, and if you can put aside the rhetoric, and you can actually look at quantifiable, statistics and quantifiable measures, our country is doing the best it's ever done before. And as Americans, hopefully days like today make us rally around that we are Americans, that we all, bleed the same red, white, and blue. I mean, we love this country. We love our nation. We want our nation to be successful, and
our people to be safe.
Everybody should cool it down a little bit.
Yes. All right. Eric Trump, thanks so much for joining us this evening.